Okay, welcome back, everybody. In this episode, we're going to be discussing a paper that looks at neuroplasticity in adults. I'm Dr. Mika, and our guest expert for this episode is Dr. Debora Chen, who is an associate professor of clinical optometry and vision science at the Herbert Wertheim School of Optometry and Vision Science. Welcome, Deb.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So this article that we're going to discuss is called Case Series, Neuroplasticity and Vision Therapy in Adults with Unilateral Small Angle Esotropia by Han and colleagues, which was published in the Academy's journal Clinical Insights in Eye Care. Now, technically this is the OVS channel, but Clinical Insights in Eye Care is the new Academy journal. So we're going to have a guest journal in here with us. So let's start off by asking this question. So this article presents a case series in young adults. Can you tell us more about what they were looking at?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting case series because they were 3 young adults, not children. And a lot of times when we think of vision therapy, we think of kids. And all of these adults had something in common. They all had a small angle, and small is defined as, kind of between 10, 20 prism diopters, maybe even smaller than that. Small angle esotropia. Some had amblyopia, but nobody had these high-grade stereo random dot stereopsis. And they presented to the clinic with very specific needs. One wanted to improve their acuity in the left eye, and they also wanted to see virtual reality. Another person wanted to improve their vision and their binocularity. I think this was the person who wanted to improve seeing in a slit lamp. And the third wanted to decrease their headache symptoms.
Okay, so now I'm old enough that I was taught about the critical period and adults' brains are not plastic like kiddos, but I've been around long enough that I have seen adults improve in amblyopia myself, but random stereo, that kind of freaked me out. Can you tell us about the results of these patients?
Yeah, so I think that's what really made this case series so exciting because all of them improved after therapy and some even developed some random stereo. So even though they didn't measure it on the initial clinical exam, they were able to appreciate it after they had finished their course of vision therapy. And there is actually some cases in the literature of this happening, some actually dating as far back as the 1970s. To some of you, they may not sound like that far ago, and for others of you that may. So it has been known to happen, but you are right in that it's not a well-published thing. It's not something that we see large-scale studies on. Yeah. And then if you want to talk about kind of the strategies that they use in vision therapy hasn't, yes, it has improved in therapy. It has improved in the things that we can offer. And yet we still also use a lot of the same tools that you probably learned when you were in school too. So it's really expanded, not necessarily shifted, if that makes sense. Still a lot of fusion activities. If I say words like Brock string, do these words ring a bell at all? Using red-green glasses, polarized lenses. I was just texting with one of my friends separately who was also singing esotrope. And I was like, maybe you should check your worth light. She's like, well, I should go find my worth light. She sees a lot of contact lens. But it's things like accommodation, Burgess, anti-suppression, those type of things. There is one special technique they did mention that's called the Flom swing. It uses a very special piece of equipment that perhaps not many people have. It's called a major amblyoscope or a synoptophore. We have one here at Berkeley, but a lot of people don't. And this is I'm not going to get too much into the weeds on it, but it's a really great technique that actually can break down these adaptations called anomalous correspondence.
I remember that too.
Probably also words you may not have thought about in a long time. And that is one of the reasons the authors say, maybe this is how these adult patients were able to develop stereopsis.
Okay. So I'm glad to hear that we were mostly using meat and potatoes, although we had one fancy spancy. But one thing that really scares me about the idea of training an asymptomatic esotrope, and 2 of these patients had goals but no symptoms, right?
True. Totally true.
Yeah. The part that freaks me out is the braking suppression part of therapy and the possibility of intractable diplopia. So are you a heartier person who doesn't fear such things?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. This is the short answer. intractable diplopia is certainly a possibility. And I have had patients that have ended up with intractable diplopia, although none of them had backgrounds like these patients actually. So one of the things that helps in this case is that these patients did show some evidence of being able to be binocular. I mean, maybe, some people had stronger evidence than others, but they all showed somewhere that they could either have the potential or did see single somewhere, somehow, under some condition. So it means somewhere in there, their brain is capable of putting those two images together and keeping them together. Usually when patients have intractable diplopia, it's, they don't have that ability either anymore or they never did. So so there's that. And also, the nice thing about vision therapy is, well, nice or not nice, depending on how you see it, is you see these patients a lot. You are monitoring them on a weekly basis. It is hands-on, it is active. You are in there with them. You'll be able to kind of catch those first fleeting moments if you think that intractable diplopia might actually occur, because it's such a closely monitored program. So
Okay. So I take this to mean, how, very goal-oriented esotrope with small angles. Does that happen a lot? Have you had similar patients in your clinic?
We have. Maybe it's just Berkeley and we get a lot of very goal-oriented patients with very specific chief complaints. I bet that's not unique to our clinic either. But yes, in fact, probably 15, 20 years ago, has it been that long? Stereo Sue. So Sue Berry is a neurobiologist.
Yes.
And you might remember that she wrote a book called Fixing My Gaze. She had given some interviews, I think, in Scientific American, NPR, that had kind of resurged adult vision therapy. And she was also an esotrope who wanted, and eventually says that she did, see stereopsis. So I think with her came a wave of patients. And sometimes we still get some of these patients said, I read this book, I am inspired. I want, I have the time in my life now. Maybe they're newly retired or they now have some time and they want to dedicate to it. But it does take a very highly motivated patient, someone who is willing to put in not just the work in office, but also at home. It's like a exercise routine. They have to keep going. A daily maintenance. It's you got to keep it up. So it does take quite a special motivated person.
Well, I am very happy that we have people who are experts in this field like you, because I will gladly send my patients who are so goal-oriented over to you.
You know what? You can take all my red eye patients.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chen, for joining me today.
Thank you.